What up, my name's Catullus, my poem's up esteem. Today I'm gonna teach you all some things. Yeah, I have a high voice, but you got no excuse to be judging someone who's been blessed by Zeus. It's weird to see me walking. If I'm dead, how am I talking? Let's ignore that for a sec. I ain't Socrates. I know nothing. Come on, please. That's just pure mediocrity. So when did my story start? Let's see. Sometime around 84 BC. Nowhere in the whole wide world might that be. A famous little town called Verona, Italy. Little is known about my early life. Guess y'all didn't save my memoir. Thanks, guys. But here's what we know so far. I had a wealthy family. My dad's a friend of Kaiser. Who's that? Okay, here's a quick lesson. I was born in a time when the leaders were aggressing. Tensions were high with no secret of corruption. Before war broke out, I mysteriously died, thank the gods, but it was kind of an annoying disruption. I assume you hold some understanding that Kaiser got in trouble, though he was commanding. So the famous line went, "Et tu, Brute?" Learned that from Shakespeare, cause facts ain't my forte. With this one political connection, it's no wonder my rhymes border perfection. I grew up with some pecunia, so I had a classic education, duh. Okay, enough with this boring history. Let's move on to something more important. Me, specifically my poems. Aren't they great? My digs go so deep, they cut an armor plate. I wrote for my buddies and I wrote for my lady and some roasts about friends when things got shady. My style was diverse. Here, let me explain. Over hundreds of rhymes. Gee, what a pain. Epigrams and hymns were only a couple. I wrote in polymetra and not just quintuple. Ever heard of hendecasyllabic? Oh, you haven't? Well, that's just fantastic. Not 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. My lines are full of syllables. How many? 11. You think you're cool enough to mess with someone as hot as me? I could insult you once and you'd be crying for mercy. How did I get so skilled, you may wonder? If not for my predecessors, I might have blundered. Callimachus and Sappho ruled the Hellenistic age. Their epigraphs and poetry all gained my praise. Maybe a bit too much, I must confess. One particular poem showed my lack of finesse. This particular poem is Catullus 51, so inspired by Sappho that if Turn It In read it, well, I'd be done. Enough with those two, I still have one more guide. I bore a great love for folklore, I do confide. The gods delighted me and held great influence. How could I not reference Dionysius? Also, not to brag, I had a personal Venus.
Hey! I'm taking the compliment, but I still hate you.
Alright. I met the love of my life in Kislopodsky. She was the wife of the governor, but that wasn't all. Lesbia is a lady of intelligence and beauty, and on top of all that, well, she came to me. I felt as if we had a nuptial relationship, but then she went and started, with Catullus. And Catullus rejected her, and she threw a fit and said she tried to murder her. I couldn't believe it. My buddy Kikero decided to help Catullus by turning Lesbia's claims right into dust. When she asked for my help, I didn't know what to say, but I wrote novels of poems about her either way. I see the past is the past. Doesn't matter who or how. I say what happened back then doesn't matter now. What matters now is that love is dead. Now don't let the statement get to your head. You're as lowly as Venus, but go as low as Pluto. It's not something to brag about, So why don't you just sit back, relax, and just breathe as I continue to say my words with ease. Now, where were we? Oh, right, my muses. Being a poet doesn't warrant excuses. I still had to be a respectable gentleman, even though some guy stole my precious napkin. I did the civil thing and attacked his friend with words instead of, bashing his head in. I looked above all else for beauty and charm, and yes, in doing this I might have caused some harm. Okay, I admit, I wasn't close to subtle. My jibes caused great offense and much rebuttal. I guess you could say my ego's fragile, but when Dante chose to step in the shoes of Virgil, I'll have you know Dante was practically my student. Equating Virgil with me would just be impudent. And they aren't alone. My words impress many more, but naming all the worlds, it'd be a chore. Have you heard of those poets called Ovid and Horace? I bet they couldn't rhyme even with a thesaurus. The longer that I remain dead and gone, my poems climb up to higher echelons. People became wise in the Middle Age, and my poems suddenly became all the rage. Even beyond those bygone days, my poems are still the greatest craze. Among magistri and part of the literati, when we read my works, they might say I'm haughty. Which is totally fake, by the way. Well, I gotta go. I've said my share. Catullus out, but don't despair. You can read my poems anytime you like. Okay, that's enough. I'ma take a hike.